remaining quiet, sentiment benevolent. Dharma friends, sitting still in vital silence, wanting nothing, we practice eco-Buddhism together. The sound of the temple bell booms for all to cease from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of non-violent global village forever. Here is the after sound of the bell. Thunder of silence, light after Dharma rain. Om Amoga Bhairakana Maha Mudra Mani Padma Jabala Privataya
Please stand. We will be chanting the three refuges together, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. First, in Sino-Korean. I ask you to close your eyes and imagine yourself in a mountain monastery, and then we'll do the English. Now please repeat after me. I go for refuge to the Buddha.
I go for refuge to the Buddha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
And realize the great way.
And realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
And transform this world into Buddha lands, unimpeded.
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
Now, before we sit again, we have a ritual that we do each week at the temple. There. We first light our electric candle. And listen deeply. On this 7th day of April, year 2024, we acknowledge that this land where our temple buildings stand has been the home of native peoples, the Potawatomi, the Odawa, and the Ojibwe, the Council of the Three Fire Tribes, and also of Black Americans. We know that this neighborhood used to be a historically Black neighborhood during the times of racial segregation and oppression. For our own awakening and for the awakening of all life, may the benevolent energies of our meditation, chanting, and full presence here at this service this morning extend to all beings on this planet and throughout time and space. May there be a deepening of our interbeing. May peace prevail and wars cease. So please take your seats again for another shorter period of meditation, perhaps about 5 minutes. Please follow along with me for some gentle stretching exercises and make this part of your meditation practice. Can you hear me? Technology is not my strong suit. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hayun. I'm a Dharma teacher here at the Zen Buddhist Temple. To those of you who are here for the first time, deep welcome to you. Most of you are used to seeing me here on days when there are 2-year-olds to 92-year-olds here and telling crazy Buddhist stories, singing crazy songs. I asked my own some time ago, I said, "Oh, every once in a while I'll do a grown-up Dharma talk." And so she said, yes, and here I am. Somehow I think the 2-year-olds are a tougher crowd, so we'll see. So we just completed, some of us, a long meditation retreat called Yongmeng Junction, which means leaping like a tiger while sitting. And it brought to mind the endurance that it takes to do that, but also the endurance it takes for us just to live our everyday lives every day. So I thought I'd talk about that some today. It starts with something called the paramitas, or perfections. These are character qualities. So it's not something we're born with, it's not something environmental, but it's something totally different. It's in each of our characters that we are invited to cultivate throughout our practice. And they're from an ancient Sanskrit language. They were composed a couple hundred years after the Buddha died, when a lot of the Buddhist teaching was being composed. In our tradition, there are 6, in some others there are 10. And so the paramitas in English, the most close comparison to the Sanskrit is perfections. So we work on these perfections every day. And as I list them for you, you'll say, aha, yes, of course, this is something I need to cultivate. The first is dana paramita, generosity. May I be generous, helpful. The second is shila paramita, practicing morality. Shila paramita encompasses our precepts that we take here. The third is shanti paramita. May I be patient. May I have forbearance. May I be enduring. The fourth is virya paramita, energy, bringing energy to whatever you do. The fifth is dhyana paramita, which is our meditation practice, bringing concentration and oneness to our lives. And the sixth, which has a relationship with all of them, is prajna paramita, which is wisdom practice. So you'll see that prajna paramita reflects each of the other paramitas, and that each of the other paramitas reflects prajna. Today, I wanted to talk about shanti paramita. So shanti paramita is the practice of patience and tolerance, forbearance, endurance. Not exactly the kind of things we like. And I'm fascinated by this one because it's all of my trigger points. It's all of the things that are like when I don't get things the way I want them to be. That's what Shanti Paramita practice is all about. No matter how skilled we are, no matter how far along we are in the path, sometimes things get difficult. Sometimes life can be kind of excruciating. And that's when the sort of building that muscle of Shanti Paramita helps. We can dig into our toolbox and pull it out. So I thought before we start, I'm kind of a nerd this way, but I was looking at the dictionary translation of some of these words, and I thought it was interesting. I thought I'd share some of this with you. The dictionary translation of patience means bearing provocation, annoyance, misfortune, delay, hardship, pain, with fortitude and calm and without complaint, anger or the like. That's pretty all-encompassing. Number 2 of patience, the second translation is quietly and steadily persevering or diligent, especially in detail or exactness. Some synonyms for patience are composure, diligence, endurance, backbone, calmness, constancy. Sometimes Kshanti Paramita is translated as forbearance. To forbear means to be patient or self-controlled and subject to annoyance or provocation. Synonyms for forbearance are fortitude, self-control, longanimity. It's a Scrabble word. It's a word I'd never heard before, which means patient endurance of hardship, injuries, or offense. Longanimity. Composure, grit, and perseverance. And finally, we have the word endurance. To endure means to hold out against, sustain without impairment or yielding, to undergo, to bear without resistance or with patience tolerate, to continue to exist, to last. Some synonyms for endurance are ability, capacity, courage, stamina, strength, tenacity, tolerance, vitality, and staying power. So I'm not too keen on the forbearance aspect of it. The reason is because it, for me, brings up a lot of dualities. It's about like, I am suffering because of the wrong you caused me, as opposed to our ideal of trying to go deeply into this practice so that we're not creating those dualities. So forbearance doesn't really hit it for me. Patience is something we all know. Patience is a virtue. We've heard this again and again. And impatience is not a virtue, but it strikes me that impatience is not the direct opposite of patience. Patience is, the direct opposite is more like what our triggers are. You know, when I'm impatient with something, something deeper is going on in me. It's not just about me saying I have to get to a meeting, usually. There is a famous Buddhist monk from the 8th century named Shantideva, who wrote a book called The Way of the Bodhisattva. And in this book, there is a whole section on patience. It really cuts to the heart of our experience as human beings in this whole volume that he created. And it's witness to it that it's actually still so popular today. Actually, on Thursday mornings, Mountain leads a retreat, a meeting, a study group on the way of the Bodhisattva. So if you have an interest in diving in, we can give you more information on it. So here's something, but after hearing this, you may not want to. So he says, if you argue that you dislike one who speaks ill of you, because he is harming a living human being, why do you feel no anger when he defames others in the same way? You tolerate those showing disfavor when others are the subject of it, but you show no tolerance towards someone speaking ill of you when he is the subject to the rising of defilements. Here's the kicker. When your own virtues are being praised, you want others to be pleased as well. When the virtues of others are being praised, you do not even want to be pleased yourself. Ouch! Shantideva cuts to the heart. But then he goes on and softens it because the beauty of this volume is that he sees that we're all human beings. He says, the cause of happiness comes rarely, and many are the seeds of suffering. But if I have no pain, I'll never long for freedom. Therefore, O my mind, be steadfast. There's nothing that does not grow light through habit and familiarity. Putting up with little cares, I'll train myself to bear with great adversity. So, I wanted to tell you a little story that I heard. It's about a man with two sons, and they were raised identically. Those of you who have children, you're trying to treat your children equally and trying to raise them all in a nurturing way. But in this household, one of those sons grew up pretty impatient. He was not really satisfied with all the things he had. It was a pretty wealthy family. So anything his dad would give him, he'd be like, oh, yeah, my friend has the next version of Xbox. This isn't good enough. We all know what it's like to feel this way. Sometimes maybe we've been in this place ourselves. So he just wasn't happy with the things he had, and he always wanted more. He had another son who just had this positive outlook. He didn't feel the need to give him as much because, quite frankly, this son seemed to be pretty happy with his life the way it was. So one year for their birthdays, he gave the first son a car. It was this like red convertible, and it was pretty sweet. And the son went out, took a look at it, took the tires around it, and said, "It's okay. I wish it had gotten yellow. I like yellow better." The other son, for his birthday, the father put a truckload of horse shit in his room on the floor. So, wanting to see how this son would react, he peeked open the door, and there was the son shoveling the shit. And he said, "What are you doing?" And the son says, "I know there's a horse in here somewhere." So obviously that's a pretty simplistic story, but I think when you unfold it a little, what's important to see is that the second son wasn't triggered by the first son. He wasn't like, "Oh, he got a car and I get this, why me?" He just focused on the ordinariness of what was going on in his room. And he had a very positive outlook, but usually that positive outlook comes with deepening practice. Kshanti Paramita is the paramita that resembles most closely the Buddha's teaching on the Four Noble Truths, I think. And we've talked about this quite a lot in our Dharma talks. For those of you who weren't there, the Four Noble Truths is characterized as referring to suffering, but it's kind of a misnomer because it really covers the gamut from just feeling stressed out, to anxious, feeling regret, boredom is a part of this, resentment, and I said that, it's a big one, to outright suffering. I mean, the way, when you lose a loved one or a relationship ends. So it's really that kind of, it's even a sense of angst. When things are going well, you're thinking, uh-oh, this is not always going to be going well. So it covers all of that. And it's only with our practice of things like this that we start to deal with them. I'm drawn to the word endurance because I feel like that for me is the one that hits the nail on the head for our practice. It's not something like endurance like an Olympic athlete or Caitlin Clark shooting another three-pointer. It's about that kind of ordinary endurance. It's about that building, like sitting for 15 minutes and saying, oh, that wasn't the greatest meditation session. I just thought the whole time. But it all counts. It's all there. It's putting that practice in, putting that endurance in. How do we train ourselves in Shanti? I mean, how would we go about doing it? So to me, meditation is our greatest asset in this. Whenever we're able to become more enduring, the better it is. But when we first start meditating, or when we haven't done it, on and off maybe, it might be really hard to sit. It might be really hard to sit with not only physically not feeling well, but also these emotions come up. So when we do this endurance practice, we recognize that when things come up in meditation, they're oftentimes coming up in our lives too, but we'll just paper over them a little bit through the various things we're doing, the busyness of our lives, or some of the things that we do to take away what we might see as some of the suffering we have. But anything you find it hard to do in meditation, you're going to find hard to do in the rest of your life too. But it's that coming back, that sense of everyday, ordinary endurance. It helps us begin that path of growing. It's not about this magic light bulb that goes off. And the second part, which I feel is very important, I think it's obvious. You come to the Zen Buddhist temple and we say meditation is important. But what also is important is to listen to our bodies. Listen to your body. What does it feel like when you start feeling that kind of angry feeling, that resentment feeling, that feeling Shantideva was talking about, like, what about me? Or things are not going my way and I'm frustrated. Where does it hit you? For me, it hits me right in my chest. I can kind of feel it. I can feel it spreading out in a way that seems really unwholesome. But our practice is to pause and pay attention to that. So oftentimes people just go through their lives kind of saying, well, this is crappy that I'm feeling this way. But we're called to do something a little bit more. And that is to really pause and examine what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? What's really happening? More important, who is this person who's getting angry? I don't recognize this person. Of course, we're going to fail. We all fail at this. I fail miserably at this. But our issue is not just, oh, I'm crappy at this. It's about getting up one more time. It's about getting up when you've fallen again and saying, I'm going to endure. Just going to go through this. I'm just going to get better at this. So you're not allowing yourself necessarily to go to the why me part. The why me part is kind of dangerous for us to get to. But it's only by sort of strengthening that Shanti Paramita muscle for everyday endurance that we can kind of recognize it for what it is and grow with it. And we're all going to fail. I guarantee you everyone in this room fails. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But for the rest of us, it's a constant effort. So that's why I like the concept of endurance. It's like, it's not going to be something where in a moment's notice, I feel great, because it's not about feeling great. What we see in our practice is it's about that sort of equanimity where I feel pretty good. It doesn't matter if someone's saying, you did a great job, or it doesn't matter if someone said, boy, could you use a lot of help with that. So it's about not getting into the peaks and valleys, but just kind of harmonizing, using that everyday muscle of Shanti Paramita endurance, making our lives a daily effort in this. So, I didn't want to say there's no time that we ever can't give up. First of all, I want to show you this book. This is a book called The Six Perfections. There was a time back in the day when Haji Sunim had us put covers on our books. And so I have kept this little adorable cover. It makes it look like a second grader's book, but I guarantee you it's not. It's a very good book called The Six Perfections, and it's by an author named Gail Wright. The other book that I wanted to show you, it just came out, and I am loving it. It's a very easy book to read. It's called When Things Don't Go Your Way, Zen Wisdom for Difficult Times. Yeah, kind of sums it up, right? It's written by a monk named Henan Sunim. And one of the reasons I love this author, he's very approachable. But years ago, I was walking past Literati bookstore with my daughter, Rory, and she looked at another book of his in the window, and she was like, oh, is he related to Haji? Because they're both called Sunim. And I was like, well, that's not a last name, but in a way, yeah. So, very funny. So, but the last thing I want to talk to you about is the courage to say I can't. And in this book, there's a poem by a Korean poet named Lee Kyu-jung. It starts with the inspiring line, you can certainly do it. So here's the poem. You can certainly do it. That's what people said. You must work up your courage. That's what people said. So I did. I worked up my courage. And I said, I can't do it. I wanted to raise that because it's easy to fall in the trap when we talk about endurance and forbearance and patience, that of realizing, of ignoring the fact that sometimes people are in really difficult life experiences. Probably all of us here have had the experience of talking to a friend who's in a very difficult relationship and saying, it's best for you to end this. So endurance sometimes is about the wisdom of knowing when not to endure. And that's how Prajna Paramita works with Shanti Paramita. They dovetail together because you need that wisdom on an everyday basis to say, I'm going to endure this. I don't like doing this. It's like, physical endurance. You start small, you go to the gym, you go for a walk, and then you build up. And soon you're walking 10 miles a day like Haji Sunim. But it takes time. You start with the first few steps. And the same is true with this kind of practice. It's about just day after day, looking at ourselves, examining what's going on when we feel those feelings, and start with little steps. Like having an itch and I'm meditating. Can I sit through this itch? Can I just do it without? Can I let this driver cut in front of me without going apeshit? Can I allow for the fact that maybe he's having a difficult day and maybe he just feels the need to get home? Yeah. these are the things that we work with. And then the bigger issues come when we really become angry with someone. It's a repeated thing. We feel resentment and we feel that sort of point of not getting along, even though we'd like to. And so that's where the wisdom of Shanti comes in. How do I develop that muscle? How do I develop that everyday endurance in my life? Build myself into this better person that I want to be. How do I practice perfection? Yeah. We all have our own stories of that everyday endurance. I've been living at the temple. I actually know because I moved in when my kids went to college, so I've been living there for about 2.5 years. I'm living here full time for a little over a year. And, I make a lot of beds. I prepare a lot of meals. I buy groceries. Do just various things with people who come over and want to help out. And it's very rewarding, but it's also an endurance practice. It's an everyday endurance practice. And the people I live with are wonderful, but they're pitas. They're pain in my butt sometimes. We like to describe it that it's like a potato peeler. Hodgson tells this story at weddings that like there's this old Korean device, which is this giant drum with a handle and so the handle goes round and round and they throw a whole sack of potatoes in it. And if you just have one potato in this thing, it just goes bing, 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 and it never gets peeled. But if you have a whole bag of potatoes in this potato peeler and you're cranking away at it, all the potatoes get peeled. So we like to think of it that as we sort of live together and am together, are together all the time, that we're practicing perfection. That our potatoes are being peeled, and it hurts sometimes. It hurts. Have your peel come off. That is worth it. Yeah. So I wanted to end with a discussion. I'm leading a retreat in a couple weeks for young adults and teenagers. And working on a meditation for that, a meditation of the present moment. And I thought that you might enjoy it too. So I thought we'd end with a little meditation. So let's bring ourselves into a proper meditation posture. Our shoulders are resting comfortably over our hips. Our pelvis is tilted slightly forward. You feel your back straighten as you do that. Swing a little bit upwards and back. Head resting comfortably over your shoulders. Tongue against the two top front teeth. Eyes gently focused on the floor in front of you. And we start by noticing our breath. And sense the rim of each nostril. The air coming in a little cool. Air coming out warmer. I sense my heart beating in my chest. sense the blood circulating throughout my whole body. With each breath, my body is changing. I'm breathing in new air, changing. I'm breathing out old air, changing. The air that I'm breathing is part of this universe. With each breath, the universe is changing. With each inhale, the universe is changing. Each exhale, the universe changes. Each inhale, the old me dies. With each exhale, the new me is born. The air changes. The universe changes. I am changing. Transforming. Enduring. Becoming. One with what is. Taking gravity on. Hold a moment.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to all of you, and especially welcome to those of you that are here for the first time. If you have questions after the service. You can ask me, you can ask Gakul, and you can ask any of us wearing the gray, and we'll try to answer your questions. And we encourage you to sign up to receive our weekly email bulletin, which is, there's a sign-up sheet on the table in the entrance hall. And also to take a copy of our 2024 winter-spring schedule. And through both of those things, you'll hear about what's happening, what's coming up, different events at the temple. So I'll mention a couple of things. We offer an introductory meditation course from time to time. It meets on 5 consecutive Thursday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. It's a nice way to learn not just about meditation, but the other basics of Zen Buddhist practice. And so the next one is going to start on April 25th. It'll run for 5 Thursday evenings. And we offer yoga classes on Tuesday evenings, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. And there's a sign-up sheet if you're interested in yoga. And then retreats are offered from time to time. Hyun mentioned about the 5-day retreat that we just had. I was telling the attendees of the retreat this morning at breakfast that this is the first time that I've attended a long retreat where my back hurt less at the end of the retreat than it did at the beginning. And I attribute that to learning how to position the cushion. I've moved it a little further forward because I found that my back was hurting because I was imperceptibly leaning forward. So just by moving the cushion, I was able to balance better. And also I found the temple's secret stash of ibuprofen. And so that was helpful too. But the retreats are a nice opportunity to deepen your practice. And we offer 1-day retreat and 5-day retreats from time to time. So check on the schedule for those coming up. And then the groups meeting today, Recovery Dharma.
Recovery Dharma will meet in the library of the historic Buddha Hall at 12 o'clock.
Okay. And then the temple's supported by your kinds. Did you have something else you wanted to?
Together Action.
Together Action. Oh, yeah. Together Action today. We're going to work for 15 minutes in the garden. So meet Haju in the garden out back right after the service to do 15 minutes of working together.
So next week we are celebrating Earth Day here at the temple. So if you missed the stories and the songs, they'll be back. Are all songs of service.
Good. The temple's supported entirely by your kind donations of time and money. There's a fishbowl on the table for monetary donations. If you'd like to volunteer your time, we get together at 3 p.m. on Saturdays to do some work in the garden for a couple hours. And you are welcome to have some herbal tea. We have shiso lemon herbal tea today, so please enjoy.
So should we end with the 4th grade class? We're going to end with the 4th grade class. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate.
All beings, one body, I vow to liberate.
Blind passions, one root, I vow to terminate.
Blind passions, one root, I vow to terminate.
Dharma gates, one mind,
Dharma
I vow to penetrate.
Dharma gates, one mind, I vow to penetrate.
The great way of Buddha, I vow to realize.
The great way of Buddha, I vow to realize.
Let's all stand and make 3 mindful bows together. No butt shots.
So please ask for your assistance in getting this room ready for the next event. We need to pick up mats and cushions. Mats and cushions touching the carpet for me. And as I can see, we have a lot of leaders. So just follow the leader and you're gonna get this job done.
Second thing is, look for the people who would like to volunteer in the garden, just so I know. Makes about 6. Okay, Margot, Lisa.